welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy Holistic Spiritual Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Beverly. Today we have an awesome guest, Serena Curran, who is a soul liaison. She guides and supports changemakers, visionaries, and spiritual entrepreneurs to break through their upper limit and easily expand into the next level of their business. She is a spiritual business mentor, healer, teacher, soul liaison, and Akashic Record Channel with over 25 years of international experience. Serena has had the privilege of leading and inspiring hundreds of women to safely take courageous leaps through unlocking more impact and income than they ever dreamed possible. She offers Business Akashic Record Readings, private mentoring, and group programs. She lives in sunny Southern California, where I was born. So today she will talk to us about Cosmic Party, Unlock Your Prosperity, and Synchronicity. Welcome, Serena.
Hello. Nice to be with you today, Beverly.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. So I always ask everyone, what's your transformational story? Why do you do what you do? Share that with us, if you will.
Transformational story. Wow, I have so many of them. I've had so many lives in this lifetime. Why do I do what I do? I mean, I think the most recent transformational story I will tell is that I got, I've been doing business for over 20 years, and I got kind of stuck in my business and couldn't figure out what was the issue around it. And I've been hearing Akashic Records for a long time. And one day I'm on a podcast and somebody's talking about Akashic Records, and I go, I need to do that. And so I have my records cleared. And when it happened, I could feel all this energy lifting off of me. And it opened up doorways and, put my life my business in a different direction, in a easier pathway. And so once I experienced that, I said, you know what, I really need to dive more deeply into this. And so I did. And of course, one of the humorous things I discovered was that my soul specialization is a restoration master, which is someone who works with the blueprints and changes them, which is what I do for my clients. Change their blueprints, their soul blueprints. Not change the blueprint, because the blueprint is the blueprint, but change remove the interferences. They're preventing that blueprint from being expressed. And so it's kind of a little bit of one of those cosmic jokes. And so once I had done a lot of training and so on, I just created my own system and rotated around my interest in working with spiritual entrepreneurs and change makers and visionaries. Because when I help them, I get to help the world in a bigger way. So I much love that.
Wow, that's really awesome. So you also work internationally. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's another one of those stories of, first of all, I have a master's in chemistry and did medical research. I worked for a biotech company. I have an MBA from Babson College and was a marketing manager. So like I said, I've lived all these different lives. And at this point in my life, I was divorced. I had 3 children. I had my own home, and I was just about to start a business. And my sister visited me and she said, you can go while I'm here. And I said, go where? I'm not going anywhere. I've got all this. And, as the synchronicities happened, it turned out that I was going to Europe. And within 10 days, I had a pack on my back. And I was gone. I didn't know how long I was going to be gone. I didn't know what countries I was going to be going to. My brother had asked me what I always wanted to collect. I said, fairy godmothers. And he said, well, go to Scotland. So I went to Scotland and I wound up circle dancing at Findhorn on summer solstice. I did not arrange that, of course. And then I wound up traveling throughout Europe for 3 months, visiting 12 or 13 countries. I'm not sure at this point how many it was, but it was at least that many. And as I travel, at the end of that 3 months of backpacking, I knew I was going to go live in Europe. Now, if you had told me in the beginning, I would have told you were crazy. And so I went back home and I turned my life upside down. I had my children move out to go live with their father. I sold my house. I sold all my goods, and I prepared to go back to live in Europe. And I did not know in which country I was going to live or which language I was going to learn. In the meantime, I dreamed I was a healer, and I said to myself, I never thought of myself as a healer. And she's, well, can you do this? And I could do all these things that I didn't know I could do. So I was guided to take 3 weekends of healing training. So I took 3 different modalities at 3 weekends. And I returned to Europe 9 months later and traveled along the Swiss-German-Austrian border and landed in Austria and said, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. And that's where I had my first healing practice with very little training. And I had to discover how to do what to do and how to do things. So I was a hands-on energy healer at that point, and I did healing circles with the angels.
Wow.
And so that's how it all began. And then from there, I've traveled. I went from there to Hawaii and lived there for 3.5 years and traveled back and forth, traveled a lot of places in the country, was back in Europe again. Interesting story, living in Sedona. And again, synchronicities led me out of Sedona 2 days before 9/11. I was in Europe for 6 months, so I have no experience of that. And I ultimately lived in Paris for a year. And this was kind of funny too, because someone had channeled to me about 2 years before, your guides are saying they can arrange for you to live in your Paris. And I was like, I don't live in Paris. And here I am living in Paris. And I suddenly go, oh my gosh, remember that woman said that? And I laughed. So yeah, my life is full of synchronicities and amazing adventures and back and forth between Europe and all these different, I've lived in, I don't know how many states, but I've traveled about 40 something US states, 42 US states, and about 14 countries in Europe, and been back and forth doing my work. That's a long story.
Your work evolved though, right? So your work evolved. So you started out as a healer.
Yes. Oh, yes.
How did it evolve?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
How did it evolve after you were an energy healer? Then what did you do?
I think the year I was in Paris, I had people come to me, and I didn't go there thinking I was going to work, but I had people come to me and ask me to do healing circles, and I did healing circles, and I was reading these. I'm always reading, learning, so on. And I was reading these different modalities. I think one was a reconnection. I was reading books on them, and I was experimenting with it, and I could do the things after just reading the books. So I started playing with that kind of distance work. And when I came back to the States, I still did a little more hands-on healing, but it just evolved into doing more consciousness changing without any hands-on, more through presence, more through the dialogue I have with people and the guidance I give. And then came the Akashic Records and working with the Akashic Records and helping people with their businesses through the Akashic Records.
Wow, that's quite a long journey.
It's not done yet. You know what I always tell my clients, if you're done evolving, you can just dig a hole and jump in, you're out of here.
So for you, synchronicities are a reality. When I teach meditation, I tell people to start looking for them because they're everywhere if you're open to them.
Yes, they are, but I've also experienced that you can work with them intentionally. And I think for me, when I see the synchronicities that are a sequence, this to this to this to this, that is more meaningful than just a simple synchronicity. So a simple synchronicity, when I was in Sedona, there was this healer that I needed to have a conversation with, and he just didn't want to do it. And I went to the town he lived in the same town with me, but I went to the town next door, Cottonwood, to go to the store. And he apparently had done the same thing, because I'm walking around the store, and I turn and I go and I walk directly into him so that we had to have our conversation. So that's a simple synchronicity, we might say. But then there's the ones that are like sequences of events, one after the other to the other, that lead you somewhere. And then there's always, how about the synchronicity when I was leaving Austria? So they also can be not only guidance, but they can also confirm for you things. So when I was a time for me to leave Austria, I'd been there 1.5 years. I was getting the message to go to Hawaii. And I'm like, okay, wait a second here. You want me to go to Hawaii? It's halfway across the world, literally. I'm almost out of money, and this is where you want me to go? And I'm getting yes. And so I finally say, okay, I'll go to Hawaii. The next thing I know is I go into a Platz, and there's a bookstore there, and they have a book in English on Hawaii on sale. on travel in Hawaii. That's one. The next day, I meet a person who practices huna. And that night, I go to hear some jazz at the hotel on the Ringstrasse. And at the break, they put on Hawaiian wedding song, at which point I burst out laughing. I'm like, okay.
I get it now.
I get it. Thank you. That's great. But there are, a lot of it about synchronicities is being in alignment with your soul and being in the flow. And there are certain things that you can do to create that environment. I think people tend to think that synchronicities just happen and they're random. A lot of people think that, but the reality is that they're actually, you can actually intentionally generate them and invite them into your life. And it is true. Part of the synchronicities is paying attention and noticing that they're actually taking place and acknowledging them. Even something so simple as having a question in your mind and hearing a song on the radio that answers the question.
Yeah.
It's a synchronicity. And sometimes we just go, oh, that's clever. Aha. But not connect that it's an energetic.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, it comes out of quantum science. And I actually did the mathematics of that at one time. But anyway, we don't want to get silly with that. But there is that evidence of this idea of entanglement where there's things that are not related logically that have an energetic connection. And that's what we're really working with synchronicity.
Yeah. My life is filled with synchronicities.
Yeah.
So how do you use this to generate prosperity in a business?
Well, you can use, if you have a decision that you need to make and you're asking for the answer, you can, through a synchronicity, get the highest possible answer, the one that's going to lead you in the right direction. It can bring the right people to you in connection. You set out a certain goal with your business in terms of prosperity, let's say, or a financial goal. And it can bring the right people to you that you need to, that would be most beneficial for you to connect with. It can help you to think of some untapped revenue stream that you might have. Oh, wow, I never thought of that. Or guide you to heal some resistance. Maybe there's a stream of income that has been shown to you already, and you're like, nah. And maybe there's some resistance there, and that can lead you to that. It can lead you to a bigger version of yourself just by inviting you, connecting with bigger people. And all of a sudden you're saying, oh, wow, gee, I could play in that field. I could be part of that. Or again, like the Hawaii thing, affirming that you're on the right track so that it helps you to feel confident in your decision making. So there's a number of ways. I guess there's probably infinite ways that synchronicities could help you with your business or your prosperity. But we get the opportunity to create that environment that allows for those to arrive in our lives in a bigger way.
So while you were saying that, what occurred to me is you don't actually have to be a business owner, but an employee, and you can still bring in that same prosperity, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Knowing what's the right project to get on or which project not to get on or which people to team up with and not, if you have that option, or even synchronicities and how to deal with your boss. It could be any of those sorts of things.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think again, infinite possibilities. We probably can't even think of all the ways that it could assist you, but it's part of, and I call it a cosmic party because it's part of playing with the universe, I also like to call synchronicities cosmic winks. The universe is kind of winking at you. Here, go. And so you can play. You can be more playful about it and have fun with it, and that actually will also bring synchronicities more easily to you, just having fun with it.
So one of the things that I think a lot of people, some people don't even have a clue what their soul purpose is, but how do you help people that maybe know their soul purpose, but they're maybe not quite in alignment with it? So talk about that a little.
Well, first of all, let me be clear on what I think about soul purpose, which is our only purpose here is to express our souls. That's why our body is in here, and why our soul is in here in this body. This is the vehicle for allowing the expression of this soul. And so I don't ascribe to the idea that people have a singular purpose. I believe you have these gifts that you're here to express, and you can express them in any way you want, because we live in a free will universe, first of all, and second of all, I can't imagine that a soul would come down here and then look for a purpose like a needle in a haystack. So I kind of think of it that way. And so the way that I help people with all of these things is through these readings in the Akashic records. And those are the records of your soul. And it tells right in there what your soul gifts are. And based on those soul gifts and your soul origin and a number of other things, there's better business models that work better for you, or better business structures that work better for you. And so when I do a reading for people in the Akashic Records, I tell them what their soul powers are, and I tell them how they can most effectively use them in business and where they could have a pitfall for business. For some people, running their own business means they have to hire people to do everything underneath them. For other people, it means that they don't want to have a team and they have to do it differently. And it depends on your soul. So that's the first part of it. And again, as I said, when you clear out those things that are interfering with the expression of your soul, many doors open and synchronicities happen. I don't want to keep on going, so I'll stop there. I could say a lot more. It's about aligning with your soul, because the divine source is coming down through the center of you, the flow of divine source energy. And when you align with your soul, you're in that flow. And when you're not, you're outside that flow. So it's just like synchronicity. We're always manifesting, we're always getting synchronicities, but you're out here, it's not flowing. It's difficult. It's got challenges and so on and so forth. You get yourself aligned in here and you're in the flow and things come to you. And that's where the synchronicities happen in a bigger way.
Oh, nice. So talk to us about living in flow. So that's part of your gift, right? Living in flow, 5 tools for generating synchronicities and prosperity. So
right.
How do you live in, what is that for you, living in flow?
Well, living in flow means being in alignment with your soul and keeping in connection with your soul and asking for direction and following what your soul is telling you. When I got that opportunity, if we go back to that story about when that came up for me to go travel, this did not make any sense in my life for me to drop everything and go off traveling to who knows where and for how long. Who does that? But if I had not said yes to that and followed my soul, because my soul was calling me to that, my life would be completely different than it is now. That was one of those very important choice points of saying yes. So being in the flow is always about trusting and following your soul. And there are, of course, tools that you can use to learn how to do that more effectively. And so that's flow for me. It's being in alignment with your soul, and it's listening, and it's trusting, and it's following. It's actually taking action on the guidance that you're given, and then you'll get more flow.
So you don't believe then that people sometimes at a soul level made a commitment that they would do certain things once they were here?
I think there are some people that did that, but I don't think everyone's done that. No, I don't believe that. I believe that we came here to, I'm a communicator. I came here to express certain ideas. I stay in connection with the divinity, and it tells me what direction to go in, and that changes depending on, I don't know, depending on the energies, depending on what part of life I'm called into. I started out as a chemist. I became an MBA. I'm a mother, a grandmother. I've been single. I've been married. I've been divorced. I've been a single parent. All of those are roles, but still always the element that's constant is my soul. And so, and who's to say, people talk sometimes about healing and, you're a healer. Everyone's a healer. All you have to do is smile at somebody in the market.
Yeah.
And, you're bringing healing energy, or you're bringing healing to those people when you do that. So no, I think expression of the soul, I'm going to sit with that. And I do occasionally when I'm doing readings, I have sometimes encounter people who are here with a specific purpose, but it's not the usual.
Well, I don't think many people incarnate with just one purpose. There's many purposes.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you look out, and this is what the Akashic Records is about, there are all these paths that are in front of you. And so one of them is going to be the highest path, or the most effective path, or the most beautiful path, the most flowing path. And it is up to us in our interactions with the universe and with our own soul and our own divinity to know which one of those paths are it. And sure, we can take a lot of different paths. There's an infinite number of paths. And yeah, but I don't think that there's, you didn't come here with the idea that you had to take one particular path. No, I don't think that.
Yeah, there's many ways to accomplish the same thing.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And, you know, how would we, if we live in a free will zone, which we do, how would we justify the idea that we only have one thing we came here to do, or one purpose that we came here to do? It just doesn't. Way.
I don't know anybody that has one purpose that they came here to do.
Yeah. Or one way of doing it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Well, one way of doing it, or even one purpose. I think that, especially with the changes that are going on today, we came here with a lot of different goals. A lot of us came here to help with the transition. And that's not even a personal purpose. That's more of a global purpose. So there's many different ways to look at soul purpose.
Yes, exactly. And I think, I think anybody that came here now that's in the light, that's a light worker, is here because we're making this huge transition, and we all have a part to play. And that's why I get so excited too about using the Akashic Records to look at your gifts, because those are the gifts that are needed. The ones that you have are the ones that are needed. And so how can you most effectively use them in whatever way you decide? But, you know, like there are certain things that fit for you and certain things that don't, based on your soul. There's also, I do 7 keys to manifesting, because everybody manifests differently too. And that's often taught as there's one way to do that. And that's not really the truth. So, anyway.
And a lot of people who teach manifestation leave out some of the important aspects of manifestation. They tell you have to do this and this, and then they forgot about this and this.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the not taking action part is often left out, or
right. Especially that one.
Yeah.
I have to take action.
Yeah. I remember being on some sort of thing, some thread, and some woman said her intention was $1 million by Friday. And just for fun, I just wrote her, I said, well, how do you think that's going to happen? And she wrote back, and she said, do not rain on my parade. That's, you know, what I'm thinking, you know, do you think someone's going to drive up to your door and drop $1 million?
Drop $1 million? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it has to be realistic a little bit.
Yeah. And converse, one time when I was living in Hawaii, I was working in an art gallery. I sold art when I was in Hawaii, as well as did healing work. And someone came in, and I was working with them, and they said to me, you know, you're really good at this. Of course I am. I'm an energy healer. I'm matching your energy with the energy of the painting, you know? And she says, you know what, we have a job down in the South Side, and it really, you know, it's a really good situation. It was a better place to work than where I was. And she left, and I went, oh my God, I have to go down to the South Side of the island, and I'd have to move. And then I went, oh my God, did you want the angels to drive up here with a car and put you in it and take you down there? Get in your car and go do that.
Yeah. When I look back on my life, sometimes, you know, different things happen, and I do different things. And then at some point I end up over here, and I realize, oh, the only reason this could happen is because I did this and this and this, which didn't seem related at all.
For sure. Absolutely. For sure. That's why listening and following those synchronicities is so important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mentioned in Sedona, when I was getting the message to leave Sedona, and I was getting a message to go back to Europe, and I was like, I don't want to go. I kept going, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Don't want to go. And I kept getting the message, you got to go. I was like, all right. And somebody said, I see you in the Greek islands. I said, oh my God, there's 1,000 of them. I wouldn't know which island to go to. The next thing I know, I'm in the bookstore looking at a book on the Greek islands. I don't know how I even got there. And I'm picking out the islands, and I still hadn't agreed to go. And I'm finally, I say, okay, well, I'll go September 16th. And I'm getting, no, got to go earlier. I left September 9th. I was in Paris on 9/11 when it happened. didn't want me here for, I don't know the reason, but I was out of the country. I went to Greece, and then I went to Rome, and then I went to Vienna and the south of France, and I was over there for 6 months or so. And so, there I was arguing with them. I can't do that, I must admit.
I've learned not to argue with my helpers because I
No,
always lose.
I'm not suggesting we should ever do it. I'm just saying, as human beings, sometimes we do.
We do. It's only natural to have resistance. It's like,
yeah, sometimes we do it.
What?
Yeah, exactly. And and that's when, who knows? And I got to do work in all those places. So yeah. Anyway.
And there was a reason for it. And I found that you don't always know the reason right away. And you may not know the reasons for 10 or 20 years. And then all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I was doing this back then.
That can happen for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they see a bigger plan than what we see.
Yes. And so, even though we can fly up at times and see and take a look at the plan, we've got this opportunity and this cosmic play with the universe and these cosmic winks to get, hey, we're winking at you. We're showing you which way to go. Are you going to come? And, if you don't respond to the winks, they stop winking, until you get back in order again.
That's true. You do have to keep listening.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So for those of you who are on YouTube, the gift, Serena's gift, Living in the Flow, 5 Tools for Generating Synchronicities and Prosperities. The link will be down below. If you're listening, I'm going to say the link. It's a bit.ly link. If you've heard of that, bit.ly. Then you do /tools-syn for synchronicity. So tools-syn at bit.ly. So do you have any closing words or anything you want to add?
Oh, just that, just remember, you're a unique cosmic being. You're one of a kind. And you have a piece of the puzzle, and we need your piece. So please do get out there and do your work in whatever way you choose to do it.
Good words. Very important. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today. And everyone, thank you for joining us. And remember to be the light you want to see in the world.
Lovely.